So what's all this about that?
Hello, I'm Kyle. This is Give Pause Hobby, the channel where I stop to appreciate the things I love to fill my free time with. And for today, we're coming back to the series of So What's All This About? Insert game title here. And for the first time, I'm breaking it into two videos because while if you're on this channel, you're no stranger to long videos, I'm still going to take it upon myself to say, this game is just too big to talk about in one. And I love it too much to just rush through the whole thing. So without pulling my increasingly old man back, here is Empyreal Spells Steam, which is, I'm holding it up to my shoulder right now. It is that big. It is one Kyle's head tall, including neck, and it is roughly one Kyle's chest wide and deep. So it's a big old box. And before I get it to the table, because today I'm gonna walk you through unboxing it, showing you what's inside. I'm going to show you the components, and I'm going to rebox it. So today I have labeled the stuff edition of So What's All This About? Next time will be about the cards. So there's a lot of cool stuff. It's not going to be like a pro strats video. It's just going to be me kind of gushing about the cool things I love about the game. And for today, that's the toyness of it, which I am a big fan of, having grown up with just playing board games for the toys that they are. My brother and I, or my cousins, just kind of coming up with ways to play board games that we had no idea how to actually play, which I play to this day with my kids in my light series, where we get out Pax Pamir or Root or Cascadia, which we just got, and we just play it with sometimes made up rules. My daughter being 5.5, she's increasingly interested in coming up with these rule landscapes. Other times we just play with stuff as toys. So it's very much a part of my hobby that I enjoy the physicality, the toyness of the board game. But before we get started, this box, just to explain what's in it real quick. First of all, if you get Empyreal Spells and Steam, this right here, this is the box that you are going to get. So the whole giant cube, this is not like a deluxeified version. This is what the base game comes in. So here is the base game's operator's manual, the rule book. But contained inside this cube of goodness, I also have As Above, So Below, which is the expansion to the game that adds a couple companies, and critically it adds some metro stations, which I'll show you when we go through the box. But critically, it adds the AI decks for each of the companies. So you can play any of these companies as an automa. I also have, is this it? Yeah. The Empyreal Far Corners, which was the Kickstarted, the second expansion, which is where I came on board for the game. So this one was really just for a few more of these metros that you can add to your deck, but it was to your map rather. It was really a way to raise funds for another printing of the game, which when it arrived in backers, at backers' doorsteps, people were like, whoa, this game is sick looking, like, how do I get my hands on it? And Level 99's like, we have a few of them, because as you're going to see, it's a really big game. So understandably, they're not just going to print a bunch of them with the hope that someone's going to want them down the road. They kind of want to print almost exactly what they need, and with a few extras. So Far Corners was this is like a $5 Kickstarter, but that's where I got the base game and As Above, So Below. You're also going to see, I don't actually have a way to show it to you in here right now. No, I do not. I was just checking. But I will point out the, I can't remember actually what it's called, but it is actually like the deluxeified expansion. It has some just improved components, and that's really all that it is. And I could have got that through the Kickstarter, but I actually found that somewhere else just slightly cheaper, I think on eBay. So I had that sitting around my house for months and months before the actual game arrived for me to use it with. So I say this now because I want you to know exactly what it took to fill this box up to the level that it's at. And I will try my best to point out things that are from one set or the other, because I think that's important. And there's a big part of why I have fallen in love with this game. I played 5 games so far, and I very much look forward to exploring all the companies as bots, trying this out with more players. It has been 3 massive hits with the 3 human players I have taught it to, so I'm looking forward to more of that. But a big part of that is the fact that I can play the different all the different companies as bots, and that is only possible because of the as above so below expansion. So that would be something that I would definitely want to know if I didn't own the game and I was thinking about it. So this is right now everything you can buy for Spells in Steam. I don't have any insider information here. I can't imagine there's too much more, if anything, because again, the base game came with all the box control you're going to see, which I think it says the world of Level 99 as a company, that they're not just saying here's a big box and figure it out, and here's a link to a third party you can use to control it. They rope that into the cost of the base game, and in that box control they have the space for all the different expansions, including the deluxe components one, as above so below, and far corners. So I don't know, you're going to see, I don't know how much space there really is in this box for more things. So I'm assuming this is all there is now and all there ever will be for Empyreal, but I don't know. For the time being, it's way more game than I have time to play with, but I am excited to do my best in the upcoming months. So I've gushed enough about it. Let's get over to the table and walk you through what's in this box, show off the coolness, and then show you how to put back into the box. All right, so Empyreal Spells Steam, the big old box. Now, something to be said, this lid, the expansion, the 2 box expansions, as above so below, and the fancy stuff one, have the same dimensions here, so you can use the lids up here for either of them, and they are designed to match the bottom part of the box. I think this one is just the coolest because it shows off. I think if you know the game, the other ones are really cool. The deluxe components thing has different cities that you go to. As above so below is two trains going either way, but this is kind of more encapsulates this magical train realm. So get that out of the way, and like I said, we have the rule books for the 2 of them. They are in nobody's favorite format of the big giant floppy square, but it is what it is. As you can see, they are maximalists in terms of taking up as much space of this cube as they can. Part of the rule book, and we'll go through this when we get to the cards part, there is a pretty extensive index of all the train cars, the station masters, surveyors, engineers, and the captains, then the awards. So this is 8 pages of some pretty serious reference material that then gets added to a bit with the as above so below, which, yeah, I mean, there's references on the back for all the icons, and thankfully there weren't any, unless I'm missing any, there weren't any new icons added. So they really did go into this game seeming thinking about what was coming down the road, or down the rail as it were. So it's nice to have these references, and a lot of the effects from like that you'll see on here, that equals that. Like once you get the nomenclature of the game, a lot of it makes sense, but holy moly, is it kind of a lot for teaching a new player. I will definitely say that. So let's just kind of start a stack back there. Here's the rule book, or rule pamphlet for the far corners. Again, this is really just a way for them to get a reprinting of the game. Here is the fun little letter that came with it saying, welcome to, here's your ticket, admit 1 to the train. This is what we're going to go through today. This is how to store everything in the game, and this is the one if you have as above so below. There was a separate one if you just have the base game, but when I got the base and the expansion, it was all together, so I just threw that other one out because I never had the game with that as my reality. So let's dive in. Okay, so we've got some as above so below stuff here. Extra train cars that you use for certain metros. Oh, here's a crystal that I found after packing it up. You'll see that's all the way at the bottom of the box. So I'll put it there with you right here in this video. And here are some, what are these called? Advisors that are just used for one of the metro in the game. If you're not playing with metros and not that specific one, you don't need any of these. And each of these are just for one metro as well. So this game has so much customization available to you. It's legitimately bonkers. Speaking of which, as level 99 is wont to do, a lot of times when you get their games, they will come with cards that cross-reference to the other games. The only level 99 game that I have aside from this, actually that's not true. So we do have Noir. But the only big, series I have is Bullet Heart, and Bullet Star. We don't have Argent, we don't have Pixel Tactics, but I'm keeping them in here to help keep these like down. But also, if we do get those games, those go there. So this is a spot for a couple of things. A couple of the generic captains. And now, if you don't want to use the captains special to your company, you can use either of those two. Here are the metros that you can add to your map. And this kind of just like plops down in the center of the map. And each one, they're double-sided, each one has a different special rule that goes along with the metro. I might go into that in the next one more, but suffice to say, it's really cool. Here are the brains for the different bots. Again, we'll go into more details about why these are cool, but they really, really are. The 10-cent version it's really efficient system for having these feel different, but also having growth over the course of the game, which you as a player will have a lot of as you're adding different things, but the robot gets to as well. I'm just going to start adding things to this table just to really show off the madness that is Empyreal. And then here are two of the companies. I'm going to save these until I have the other ones out, which won't take very long, so we'll just put them aside for now. We have 6, because this game, no, sorry, one, I think it can go up to 8 players now. 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. Which, I love this game. That sounds like a nightmare. I'm excited to play this with 4 players, and who knows, maybe more than that one day, but 8 players sounds bananas. But anyways, there are 8 copies of the icon reference. This is the same thing that's on the back of the rulebook. Again, they could have let that be all they have and just say, well, it's on the rulebook, no biggie. But rulebooks are rulebooks. And as I showed you, those references on the inside are super important. So it's really nice having these. Every player can have one of these to use in the game, which is great. Here are some of the maps. They are double-sided. And where the cities go, there's a letter on the different sides, and based on how many players you have in your game, the rulebook will tell you to use certain letters and in a certain combination. So it's not just and really what it boils down to is, does it have 2 cities per map tile or 1? And there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's kind of like the most important thing. So maps, and they have the different biomes of the game: lava, mountain, forest, glacier, water, desert, void. And yeah, it looks nice and vibrant. So this is the first, these are 2 of the 8 companies' portfolios. This is the first thing that's going to be different for the deluxeified version, so with the added expansion. And so these are this nice fold out things here with foil, logos for the different companies. And then just once they kind of, get the whole like teaching it to sit flat, they lay nice and flat and are just a really nice way to clean up the play area. This is where you have your starting trains, where you're going to be adding trains. And really, there's a little bit of variety, actually a decent amount of variety in the different companies here. But then the things you're going to place in up here are going to make and all the train cars down here, you just have such different asymmetric factions, not just by the start of the game, but really by the end of the game. You're playing very different companies at that point. But yeah, so each of the companies has one of these, and I use 2 or 3 of them at each of these like strata of the box, again, as you will see as we go down through it. So next up is the other 6 companies here. So I'm just going to take these out, and then I'm probably going to be showing you examples of the train cars right about now, because each of them not only has their own logo and their own backstory and their own 2 captains, but they all have their own like look to the train cars. They're obviously the color, because you need to tell them apart, but they all have their own unique image that they are built around. So you have the caterpillars and the ghost trains and the big chonky King's Line trains and the fancy look at, it's just super cool how they all look just a little bit different. Now in the storage department, the 2 captains for each just sort of set in there. There's no locking mechanism here, which isn't a big issue if you do something with the box when we get down to the bottom, because if this were to like have too much like clearance up above, these could easily just come up and pieces could spill out. It's a minor quibble, honestly not something I'm seriously worried about, but deserves to be pointed out, just because it is what it is. There we go. As you can see, I'm losing space to work with here. All right, next up we have the B maps, which on the back are more C maps. It's good put together. So again, for the smaller, I think 2 to 3 player maps, have just either A or B, just 3 tiles. And from there up, you're adding tiles onto that. So we'll just kind of keep those separate there. Oh. Crystal, I almost forgot. All right, then we have a few more: Afterworld Express, Caterpillar Conveyance Consortium, and Golden Sands. Some more portfolios. This, I don't know what this was from. I cut this out of some other game that I'm not using, and I'm just using it as extra. Actually, I should really put it above this, so like the fancy foil logo doesn't get messed up. But yeah, so I'll put these off to the side because they're boring. I want this to be colorful and awesome looking. So here are a couple super important parts of the game. So here is both the storage solution for all the different spell cars. I keep saying train cars, but they're spell cars. So each of them has its own little effect that you're going to add to your repertoire if you add it to your train line. And during the game, what you're going to be doing is filling up this market of 6 spell cards, and if it ever gets down to 2, you refresh all 6 of them. So I've only played this at 3 players or 2 players, and we've only made it through about that much of the deck. There's a ton of variety in here, and you would have to be really churning through it, either because you're all going spell card crazy or you're playing with a huge player count to make any sort of a dent in that deck. Again, just like variety up the wazoo in this game. This is another source of variety. These are the engineer, the surveyor, and the ticket master, I think, station master. So these are like, every one of them has a person, their own name, their own backstory in this world of Indians, and then importantly, an effect down below. Now the purple one, the surveyor, or the engineer, is the same as the that one just so happens to be purple. Not all of them are like that, but same as the captains for your companies. These ones you can use and they flip over, and then there are effects that will flip them back so you can use them again. So they are cool and add variety. They're not super duper powerful. These station masters are just kind of ongoing benefit effects that just, help you out in different ways. Some of them you need to pay for, other ones you don't. These surveyors are one-time effects that are just crazy. They're super powerful effect. They're like engineers but ramped up to 11. And so whenever you have an opportunity to gain one of these, you need to choose which one you want, and you pick up all of them that are in that game, and you'll have n+1, so players +1 of each type. And so you say, I want to get an engineer, and if you're playing a 3-player game, pick up 4 of them, choose one, you put them back. So not only do you get something cool, you know what's in the game that other players could choose from. Again, tons of variety added there. So the resources, you may say, boy, for a box that they seem to be pretty focused on min-maxing space, why on earth is this giant thing here for these resources? And I will tell you, that is because I don't actually use the fancified resources. Those are these. And when I was looking at the deluxe components expansion, I had an inkling that this might go this way, and it turns out it did. These are cool, and I love 3D components, like fancy components, but a couple things are going against these. One, and I'm showing you a picture of, right now, the punch out resources, they match exactly the color of the fulfillment tiles that the cities are asking for. So you know exactly what you're getting, what you're able to do with them, just based on what they are. And these, the deluxe components, do not. I was thinking about kind of painting them, but they're that type of plastic that I don't know if I need to wash it more or put down some sort of base coat. It doesn't really take hobby paint all that well. But even if I was able to paint them, which again, I'm not entirely sure if I'd be able to, I'm showing another picture here. I find it a lot easier to grok the board state when all the resources are the same size and shape, and then the color and the image on them is different, as opposed to, and I'm showing you with the first game I played, because I was excited to do all the things, and I used the deluxe resources. You're already dealing with, when you look at a map, the type of terrain you have, the terrains that are on the train, that's a choo-choo joke, which can be up to 3, and the trains aren't just different colors. Again, we talked about how they're different shapes, and then you're dealing with different resources, so your eyes are having to parse a lot more when they're looking at 6 different shapes that are 6 different colors, but not quite the 6 different colors of the what do you call them? the ticket items. I can't think of the name of it. Fulfillment cards. So I've found that even though there's a, you know, I would say the deluxe component thing is, to me, like 3/5 about these portfolios. That in and of itself, I think, makes it worth it. But it is a bummer that 2/5 of the deluxe expansion I just don't use. But it definitely is in my like board game component bin, which I will sometimes raid for prototypes and stuff like that. But that's just me. That's why there's so much space in here that's not being used. But in terms of gameplay, I think it absolutely makes up for it, even if it makes my heart hurt a little bit whenever we do. So here are here's the E and D tiles. Now these are interesting because they can be anything that you need them to be. And D has 2, E has 1 on one side. So again, all the math's been done for you. You don't need to figure it out for what your player count is. It'll tell you exactly which map tiles to use. So more company things. Got Gesselheim, Imperial, Kerrigan, Transcontinental, and Star Chaser Rails, which is super fun. I played that pretty recently. Then another one of these random dividers. And finally, we're on the bottom layer. So at this point, we have 3 more things. I'm gonna pretty much max out my space here. And again, all this box control came with the game and with these lids for a lot of the stuff, so it's super handy. We have your mana crystals, the void tiles, because there are effects that let you put these down on the map and essentially cancel out a type of terrain that's underneath it. And then the first player token, which is pretty decent, but honestly, we're considering just like getting a metal whistle and doing something to make it so it doesn't actually whistle, because you know that people, as soon as they get a real whistle, are going to do it. But yeah, so that's one. This is honestly the one that we take out when we are playing. This one would be if we had a higher player count, we would need to dive into these crystals as well. But they also, we have not used these just yet, but I think we're kind of on the crux of where we will start using these end game, these like the other scoring things you can be going for. So not just the deliveries, but you know, were you the one with the most edge you know, spaces taken up, or the most delivery of one type, or whatever it may be. And then last stop on the route is all these cities, which are honestly a really, really cool component to the game. So these are the tiles that you're going to be fulfilling. So there's different, they're worth 1, 2, or 3 points for 2, 3, or 4 of that resource. And then they go right into this city. So when you're setting up the game, I think for us, it was for 3-player game, because we were playing my wife and I and 1 bot. The way it breaks down, you do a double, 2 triples, and 1 quadruple request tile. So each city is kind of all in on one type of resource. So you know exactly where you want to be going if you're picking up that specific color resource. And as you fulfill it, you take those tiles, and those are going to be worth extra victory points at the end. And these click in nicely. Just keep them in place. And thanks to these here and the plastic things, everything weighing down on here doesn't affect, I mean, these are pretty sturdy, but they're not actually like bearing any of the weight of the game. Again, super well thought out box control. Got some silica gel down here. So I talked about something that was important to make sure there wasn't any extra space. Now, this is, I suppose I said there's really not more room in the box. That's not entirely true, because these are the original. They came with the base game, which are honestly pretty fine. Like the color is great. They have, you know, their thing on the back, but they're just a little bit flimsier, and they're not quite as like, you know, that factor of just like opening up these portfolios over here. But I use these to take up some box space down at the bottom. Now, if you don't have the deluxe version of the game, you haven't got that expansion, you are missing that much depth in your box. So there's actually a decent amount, whichever version of it you have. If you have the deluxe version, you've got that much to work with. If you have the undeluxe, you have that more amount. So they could put more in here. Again, I have no idea if they are planning on that at all. That's totally above my pay grade. All right, so now it's time to put all this back in there. And before I forget, put that crystal where it should go. And yeah, so let's do it. The bottom layer, you're gonna put the cities and the crystals, and then the bigger thing of crystals. And then I'm gonna put a couple of portfolios. Again, I'm gonna use that above the thing because that's the part I want to make sure stays nice. And then 2 maps. Level 1 complete. Then we're going to be working with the spell cards and the specialist tiles and the mostly open space resource thing. And then we're going to put another. This one I'm going to put 3 of the portfolios and our random little cardboard thing. And I'm putting the B one down because we've used these the past few games, so we're changing it up. So when I open it up, A's will be right on top, ready to go. Then it doesn't matter which of these you go with. Even though 2 of them came with the expansion, it's not really... Well, there's a little bit more complexity to some of their abilities, but not by a big margin. When I first got it, I thought those 2 companies were connected to these other train cars, but I was wrong. These are for 2 different metros, and I was going to say, holy moly, so I'm going to keep them separate because I don't want someone to get them by accident. No big deal. All 8 are available to whoever thinks they look cool. And then this I'm going to put, because I only have 2 of those cardboard things, and at this point I should be able to finish this up without any additional help. Let me put the map tiles down there. And then last but not least, and again, some of these, there are kind of specific ways they need to go. And some of them make sense to have certain parts of the box control facing a corner or another, but on this level it's mostly pretty self-contained, so it's not so big a deal. I think I had these down a lower layer before, but again, no big deal. Oh, cards back there, just to help keep our extra captains nice and tucked in. And then our rule books. And even with all that stuff, I mean, if there's box lift on this size of a box, we would have an issue, because holy moly. So that is Empyreal Spells and Steam, the stuff version. And let's go get my closing thoughts. Okay, so that's the big box of Empyreal. Again, this is the stuff version of the WATA Empyreal Spells and Steam. Next time will be all about the cards. So components today, kind of mechanics, not tomorrow, and not even necessarily next week, but maybe next week. That I didn't bore you at the beginning with this, but if you've made it to here, first of all, sound off down below with a choo-choo to let me know you've made it this far in the video. Thank you for doing that. And a reminder, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff if you enjoy this content. They're going to see a slight change of content this year because I have embarked on a challenge, a personal challenge of no buy 2023. I have enough games, my wife and I have enough games on our shelves that we don't play the games we love, that we know for a fact that we love enough, let alone the games that we have recently gotten or the thankfully diminishing the dwindling list of like Kickstarter or GameFound, crowdsourced games that are coming in the upcoming months. So I decided this year I'm going to make a concerted effort to cut through the shelf of opportunity, or whatever you want to call it, but also just to get the games that we have to the table more. And then to really honestly, to continue getting better at culling the games that we don't actually play all that much. Or maybe like, I'm super guilty of this. The theme might be awesome, but realistically, the mechanics just don't really vibe with me, with my wife, with either of us or both of us. I love the mechanisms inside games, but I purchase a lot of the time based on theme. So if it's a really cool theme, even though it's a massive, tens of hours long campaign that we're probably never going to get to, there are times when I get that game even still. So getting more serious about culling, really getting the games we loved at the table, and churning through the games that we've recently gotten and will be coming in. And part of that is going to be just a more of a push to things like this, SWATA, all the games that we love. And they may take different formats. I know it's a series, but it's a pretty loose series. It's honestly just an opportunity for me to show you the games, not necessarily review them or teach them, just to kind of show them off. Because again, for me, as someone who really enjoys the physical nature of the game, that's a big part that sometimes doesn't come through in the review, because there's so much you need to talk about with gameplay and length and complexity and all that sort of stuff. Spells in Steam, I think, will not only be coming back for part 2, all about the cards. There's a pretty decent chance that in some way, that maybe gameplay, maybe like Let's Plays against the bots or something, it's just too cool of a game for me not to devote some of GivePause time to, because I want to be putting time into it however I can. And it's also a game that when I was really interested, like, do I want to get this? Do I not? Because it's a hefty price tag. And all those months I was waiting for it to come in, there's not a tremendous amount of videos out there. So I'm just adding a little bit to that pile. Taking time very selfishly just to talk about a game that I'm really into right now, and hopefully you enjoy it too. So with that, I'm gonna sign off for today, and we'll see you next time for all the cards of Empyreal. And until then, happy gaming, and thanks for being here. Bye.